ZYF Sportsman is Lamont here. We back with another podcast video, man. Today we got I don't know how this video popped up on my feed. I be getting the craziest videos on my feed. But man, this was a very emotional and crazy reaction from a whole bunch of Clippers fans who couldn't accept the reality that their team is bounced out of the playoffs. I mean, I I listened to a few minutes of this. I saw people crying, real tears. I saw people coming up with conspiracy theories. You know what? Before we get started with this video, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to the video if you haven't done so already. Again, we appreciate everybody who subscribed. We appreciate the growth, man. We're looking to grow more. Don't forget, we're going to start our live chats. Our live streams are going to start game 1 of the NBA Finals. So you want to make sure you join our Facebook group, NBA GOAT Talk, to be eligible to win those daily prizes that we're going to be giving out to anyone who joins our debates, and you're the winner of the debate that particular day. So make sure you go sign up and get set up over there on NBA GOAT Talk on Facebook. But right now, man, we got some Clipper fans, man. And you know what? I think Clipper fans just don't know what to believe or what to think right now. I literally think Clippers fans are going crazy. I really think they believe they're cursed. Because these guys just can't get to the Western Conference Finals to save their life. Now, I got my personal take on it. We're going to break that down later. But I really want you guys to just kind of get the real organic emotions coming from Clipper fans as soon as they took this L. I thought it was kind of funny. I know for Clippers fans, it probably wasn't too funny, but for me, this had me dying laughing. But we're going to go ahead and get to the video, you guys.
I can't believe it. I thought I could do this video and talk. I can't even talk. I can't even look at the screen right now. I'm so disappointed. I'm so disappointed right now. You have no idea.
Now, I don't know, man. I'm telling you, man. Hey, man, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, man, y'all should be ashamed of yourself, man. Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, y'all need to be 100% ashamed of yourself, man. I thought the LeBron James hater fan club was the most emotional fan base. I think that LeBron James hater club might be bigger. It might be the Clipper Nation might be bigger than the LeBron James hater club. lead. You got that 3-1 lead by following a certain game plan. You got that 3-1 lead by playing sound defense, talking on defense, not allowing a lot of transition points. That's how you got that lead. You didn't get that lead by panicking, throwing in junk defenses like doubling Jokic. You didn't get there like that. You got there by playing sound team defense. You got there by talking on D. And even when guys like Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell weren't giving you that 20 points per game, y'all were moving the ball and other guys were stepping up, giving you enough points to win the game. It happened against Dallas. Even even when certain players went out, other guys were able to step up. And you did it against Dallas. You were doing it against Denver. What happened against Denver? Where did the meltdown start? Towards the end of this video, I'm going to break down where your meltdown started, what went wrong, and why the writing on the wall was very clear, after Game 5. But I just don't see why this is a big surprise to Clipper fans. And I hear a lot of people talking about the Clippers. I hear a lot of people saying the Clippers need a floor general. The Clippers need this. They need to fire the coach. No. You guys have a super team. Not every team can be perfect from top to bottom. If we look at that Golden State Warriors teams that turned into a dynasty, they never had a dominant big man in the post. If you look at Jordan's dominant dynasty teams in the 90s, they never had a dominant big in the post. Every great team is going to have holes in that roster somewhere. It's about how you can overcome it. So firing a coach, trading players, getting rid of players, trying to find the floor general, that's not the answer to this particular problem. Y'all got very solvable problems. But your fan base, you guys, you Clipper fans, you guys are going to pressure the front office into making a stupid move to maybe get rid of some of those bench guys, maybe move Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. I can see that fan club being so emotional in the front office making an irrational decision based off all of the fanfare because they're upset about this. And you guys got very fixable problems that can easily be fixed by making a few changes. And it's not about firing anybody. It's not about trading anybody. You guys lost to Denver and you're still a super team. You look going into next year, Vegas is probably still going to have you a favorite to win the championship. Probably one of the top 4 teams. That should tell you something right there. So I just don't understand. You guys got fixable problems. There were glaring issues and you guys just failed to see it because you were caught up in the hype. That's what happens when you're fans and you're not really breaking down the game. I came across some of the Clippers' problems on court by accident by just doing game highlights of all of the games in the bubble. I started to see a trend with the Clippers that became a very common problem, and it came back to bite them against Denver. We'll break that down later. I want to check my man out. Make sure you check this guy out, man. He actually has a pretty good sports podcast, so I'm not really shading him. I just love his emotional reaction. It had me cracking up. The guy's name is Karceno4life. That's a great sports podcast. I actually chime in a few times, and I haven't really spoken with these guys, but I definitely listen in, and I'm definitely subscribed to the channel. But this reaction right here was priceless, man. So I had to get it on my show. But we're gonna go check him out, and then we're gonna jump into the middle of the video, and he brings a panel of guys in, and I just want you guys to hear some of the crazy things that they're saying with regards to why the Clippers lost this game, and then I'm gonna break down exactly why they lost this series. And it has nothing to do with conspiracy theories.
It's not the money. It's not the money. It's more than money that was lost tonight. It was more than money that was lost tonight. They can't even blame the refs for this. This was an epic collapse. Something epic. I don't know if the team could ever recover. Well, my head is spinning like this. Inside my head is just spinning. My whole head is spinning right now.
Hey, man, like I said before, man, Kawhi Leonard, man, Paul George, man, Lou Williams, man, y'all need to be ashamed of y'all self, man, for that, man. Y'all need to be ashamed. Man, y'all got Clippers fans out here going crazy, man. I don't know how long they can deal with this, man. This one's gonna hurt. This one's gonna hurt for a long time, man. Y'all lost a lot of trust, man. Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna bounce back as soon as game one of next season start back up, and y'all might go on a 5-6 game win streak. They're gonna be right back, man. This one right here, these Clipper fans ain't gonna let y'all live this down for a couple months, man. Y'all gonna have to eat this one. But we're going to skip to a part in the video, man. We're going to skip to this part in the video. Now he has his whole panel here, man. And I'm telling you, this is a panel full of Clippers fans that don't know what the hell is going on, man. They don't know what to do, what to think, what to say. I mean, just look at some of their faces, man. Some of them laughing. Some of them got that happy, mad smile. I mean, you got a guy up here look like he's screaming. You got a guy in the red hat. The guy in the red hat look like he might not even be a Clipper fan. He look like he just might be in here talking shit. You know, you got a guy with his hand on his head. People commenting, blew a 3-1 lead, laughing. This guy right here got his lip all tucked in. He mad. I mean, y'all might not be able to walk around LA for a few weeks, man. Y'all might have to stay in extra quarantine when y'all get home. These Clipper fans might be out looking for you. Some of these Clipper players. That is crazy. But we're gonna play this next segment, man. Now, I want y'all to just listen clearly, because again, you got a lot of people, emotions is all over the place. You know, they don't know what to say, do, or think right now. But the one thing that's gonna be clear is the fact that they think it's some type of conspiracy theory preventing the Clippers from advancing to the finals. I just want you guys to hear some of this, because once you hear the conspiracy theory, what makes it even crazier is that everybody on the panel agrees with them. Nobody has the common sense to be like, shut the hell up, man. This ain't no conspiracy theory. Nobody says that. They all agree. But I'm gonna go ahead and get straight to this right here.
I'm gonna tell y'all right now. Cino, you just said it. They want Miami Heat versus LA so LeBron can have his revenge on Pat Riley.
Yep.
That's what they're preparing you for. That's what they're getting you ready for. They don't want Boston too young and dumb.
Still trying to figure out, man, what's Kawhi's motivation that he wanted to play with?
He was mentally tired. He was mentally tired.
Kawhi should have cussed him out. Kawhi didn't even say that to his teammates when they were.
No, Doc should have cussed him out.
Kawhi ain't that guy.
No, Doc should have cussed him out.
Kawhi be that guy.
Hold on. That's my turn. Hold on. It's my turn now. No. It's my turn now. Hold on. Let me say something. Let me say something real quick, man. Doc should have cussed him out. I don't know what's up with his ass. He's supposed to be from the west. Where's he from? West side Chicago?
No, he's from the suburbs. Yeah. No, he's from the suburbs. He's from Chicago.
It may seem like he's from the suburbs, man. I don't know what. They let this game go.
He should have never left Toronto. He should have never left Toronto. He was a god in Toronto. A god.
Hey, but I got to remember, though, Paul George was his second option. Jimmy Butler was his first option.
There was no second option.
We already
knew what Paul was going to do walking into the night.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying.
He was checking out.
In every game,
No,
seven,
I'm
just
talking
go
about
in.
the beginning of the, I'm talking about the beginning.
That's what happened.
Kawhi wanted Jimmy Butler first before he wanted Paul George.
Tino.
Odell draft pick for Paul George.
Tino.
Yo.
Tino, didn't the Toronto Raptors give Kawhi Leonard a $20 million condo for him to stay?
Yeah. He wanted
He
to go
should've
home.
left. They gave him the key to the city.
All right, man. We gonna end all the madness. We gonna end all of that right there. This is what we gonna do. We gonna go ahead and break down what really went wrong for the Clippers, man. You have a 3-1 lead against the Denver Nuggets. And this is the Karceno4life fans, especially the Clipper fans. I'm going to break it down for you like this. You have a 3-1 lead against the Denver Nuggets. When you have a 3-1 lead in a 7-game series on a team, that simply means that everything that you've been doing has actually been working. You've been executing the game plan. There's no need for major changes. There's no need for changing the lineups and substitution patterns or changing the offense up. There's no need for all that. Primarily because when you're dealing with an NBA team, they have a set offense already. These guys work for months and months and months in the summer over developing a set offense. To tell Doc Rivers in the second half of a NBA playoff game to change your entire offense, it's not something that's not going to happen. Now, you can draw up after timeout plays. You can draw up really quick after timeout plays, quick hitter plays, a play that you might just run right out of the timeout. You run it once and then you go back to your set offense. But regards to their offense was fine. Their offense worked for 3 games. That's how they had a 3-1 lead. That's not what went wrong. In games 5 and 6, the Clippers had leads in excess of 15 points in the second half. They started both of those games out doing something right. You lose the lead, which can happen because the NBA is now a game of runs. The NBA is a game of runs. We know that Denver has the ability to go on spurts. That happens with every team, regardless of how good they are. Teams just go on runs in the NBA. You have to be able to withstand those runs. What's the best way to withstand those runs? It's not by the coach just yelling and calling a timeout, yelling at the players. That doesn't work. It's about staying the course. I mean, if we look at the Los Angeles Lakers, they had a game against the Houston Rockets where they were up by over 20 points. The Rockets came back and cut the lead down to 5 or 6 points. What did the Lakers do? They didn't panic. They didn't call a timeout. They didn't start trying to change the defensive schemes up. They didn't start trying to change up what they were doing on offense. They call a timeout to calm back down and say, what we've been doing has been working. Let's just get back to that. What's causing us to get outside of what we're normally doing? What's causing us to get outside of what got us these big leads? And with the Los Angeles Clippers, the one thing that I noticed, and I went back and I watched the film, especially on games 5, 6, and 7. When the Denver Nuggets applied any pressure to them, when the Denver Nuggets cut into those leads and timeouts were called, they would come out of the timeout with an entirely different concept on how to play. They would come out of the timeout. It looked like they would waste away the majority of the shot clock trying to run some type of offensive set that they're not used to running. And what they would end up having to do is they would have to swing the ball to Kawhi Leonard or Paul George at the end of the shot clock, and they would find themselves taking tough shots at the end of a shot clock that are contested. Denver did a great job of playing without fouling. They played defense without fouling. They made the Clippers rush at the end of shot clock possessions, and they took a lot of bad shots because of that. Now, that's just Denver staying the course. Denver understood that if we stay the course, we apply our defense the same way we've been doing it all season, same way we've been doing in the bubble, trust it, and allow it to work. And the Clippers fell into that. So Doc Rivers, yes, you should have held off of making so many changes. You should have just stayed the course, because you do have good enough players to where they can go out there and make plays in the offense. And you just should have allowed them to stay the course. Now, the biggest blame, I place the biggest blame on this on the Los Angeles Clippers defense. The Los Angeles Clippers have great on-ball defenders. Pat Beverly, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Montrezl Harrell. Even Shamet's a pretty decent defender sometimes. Great on-ball defense for all these guys. What's their major problem? And this is something that I picked up on just doing highlights of games of the Clippers in the bubble. The biggest flaw that I saw the Clippers have is that guys like Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Lou Williams, the Morris twin, Reggie Jackson, they did nothing off ball. They weren't active. They weren't stepping up into passing lanes. They weren't stepping up into help positions. So when guys drove to the basket, they were either going chest to chest with the Clipper bigs like Zubac or Montrezl Harrell, getting those guys into foul trouble, and there was no resistance along the way to the basket. See, a great team needs to have a really good understanding of how to play great team defense. This is why we've seen the Los Angeles Lakers excel in the playoffs this year. They lost game 1 of both series. What did they do? They came out in the rest of the games in each series and made a concerted effort to do what? They made it a concerted effort to play great team defense. Offense is going to be up and down. We saw games where LeBron James scored barely 10 points. We saw other games where LeBron James dropped 30 points and 38 points. Offense comes and goes. The one thing that needs to remain consistent is your effort on defense. And the one thing, and all you got to do if you're a Clipper fan, is go back and watch the tape. Watch how many times guys drive and Kawhi Leonard standing 2 or 3 feet from the driver. Watch how many times did Kawhi Leonard slide over and take a charge. I want you to go back. How many opportunities did Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Montrezl Harrell, look at how many times these guys had to slide over into help position and actually make a difference on defense. These things happen, one, with Kawhi Leonard. I don't think Kawhi Leonard was 100% healthy. The first thing that goes when you're not healthy is your defense. If you're hurting, if your knees are hurting, if anything is bothering you injury-wise, the first thing that you give up on is defense. Everyone wants to play offense. Everyone wants to score. You're going to give effort and energy there. But defensively, he was not the same. He wasn't the same one-on-one defender. He definitely wasn't the same off-ball. His off-ball defense was horrendous. He was a statue when he was off-ball. But yet we put Kawhi Leonard on this pedestal being a great defender. It was just simply exposed, and I think this was something that Mike Malone saw and decided to exploit. Now, how did he exploit it? He exploited it with the pick and roll. Now, when we see that Denver Nugget high pick and roll, we see Jamal Murray and Jokic working, so it looks as if they're doing all the work, when all of the real work was happening on the weak side of the court, when you had guys like Gary Harris, all right, Jeremy Grant, you had guys like that, even Torrey Craig, keeping the floor spaced. And as soon as the pick and roll happened, what did you have? You had guys making basket cuts. And Mike Malone intentionally left the three-point shooter on the wing, and he made sure a guy always basket cut on every single pick and roll. That's called understanding that the Clippers have a tendency to be statues off ball. Game 7, there were 14 backdoor layups made by the Denver Nuggets. That should never happen to an NBA team. 14 layups off of cuts or backdoor in one game. That's far too many. What that tells you right there is there's no concerted effort to talk or communicate on defense, because when you get backdoored, when you get cut on a lot, especially if you're an NBA team, that means people aren't talking on defense. And what makes it even worse is that you were playing in an empty gym. You were playing in a gym where everybody can hear everything. So all you have to do is sell it. The bench could have yelled it. The coach could have yelled it. People on the court could have yelled it. Back door. Somebody's going back door. Cutter. Who's bumping the cutters? They got guys running through the lanes. Nobody bumped the cutter off his route. Guys, Gary Harris running right through the lane, catching the ball, laying it up. Just go watch Game 7. Watch how many times Jokic caught the ball off a pick and roll or saw over the double team, passed it to a cutter for a layup. The second problem, the Los Angeles Clippers decided to double Jokic. I'm assuming they were under the impression that they weren't going to let Jokic beat them. That makes no sense because, again, you want Jokic to do all the scoring. While Jokic's doing all the scoring, Jamal Murray's going cold. Torrey Craig's going cold. Gary Harris is going cold. Other guys are going cold. Jokic is most lethal when he's getting everybody involved. When Gary Harris is running through the lane making layups, the same with Jeremy Grant, the same with Jamal Murray. All it takes is a few layups to see the ball go in, and now I'm having a great night. Jamal Murray dropped 40 in that Game 7. They allowed him to catch fire because they were so focused in on Jokic not getting another 30 points. Gary Harris, another big game. Torrey Craig, solid game. Paul Millsap, 2 big threes. This all happens because the Clippers got away from what they normally do. Stay the course. You don't have to panic and start double teaming Jokic. When you double team Jokic, now what you're doing is you're basically telling Jokic, go to your strongest ability. Jokic's best ability on the basketball court is passing the ball. He's a 7-foot tall center who's probably the best passing big that we've ever seen. He can see over any double team. He can see any double team coming, and he's going to pick you apart. So towards the end of the game, after he had already gathered about 9 assists, just hitting guys cutting, what did he do? Now he has the Clipper defense jumpy. Because now when you have Gary Harris cutting through the lane, or when you have Grant cutting through the lane, he can look you off with that pass. Now you're thinking that he's going to throw those passes to those cutters, and now he's looking you off, swinging into the three-point line, and that's when we started to see Jamal Murray and guys like Gary Harris hitting really, really critical and crucial threes toward the end of the game. This is what I mean by just staying the course. Let's not panic here. We're still dealing with a Clipper team they're still a super team. They're probably going to bring everybody back. They're probably going to be just as stacked. I personally think they could have used Reggie Jackson a little bit more. I think Reggie Jackson lost interest in the series. You could see his body language on the bench. It looked like he was disinterested. He had a look on his face like he was upset that he wasn't getting playing time, that he got benched, especially after he played pretty good in the Dallas series. That's something I didn't understand. They decided to play Shaman a bit more. That's what nobody's role was assigned. Nobody had a role. Reggie Jackson came in late. DeMorris Twin came in late. There's a lot of guys that just were thrown into this mix and asked to take on whatever role, but those roles weren't clearly identified. With regards to Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, what were their roles? Who was going to be the dominant scorer? Was it going to be Paul George? Was it going to be Kawhi? Or were they just going to trade off every now and then? If it came down to the last seconds of a game, who was going to take that last shot? Are you just going to give it to Lou Williams? Does it go to PG? Does it go to Kawhi Leonard? Or are you just going to say random? Whoever gets the ball, you're going to be the one that's dedicated to taking that last shot. See, in the NBA, you have to have these things planned out and worked on. And I think they just lacked the discipline all season and going into the bubble to focus on some of the smaller things. When you're in the NBA and you're trying to win an NBA playoff game, the smallest details matter. Understanding player tendencies, understanding what's going to happen in each particular situation, understanding on what players like to do on out-of-bounds plays, whether it's under the basket or side out. You got to be able to understand everybody's tendencies, and I think the Denver Nuggets understood their team a little bit more. Jokic, you can tell Jokic understood his team to a T because he's played with them. They've been war-tested together. You know, they lost a tough series to Portland last year. They went through these battles and they've learned together. Now they get into these situations this year. It's no surprise that they've bounced back from 2-3-1 deficits. It's called simply staying the course. In both of those series against Utah and Denver, They were both down 3-1. I want you guys to go back and look at the video with Denver. When they were down 3-1 and they came back out in those game 5, 6s, and 7s, what did they change? Their offense didn't change. Their defense didn't change. They stayed the course and they simply trusted. The only thing that they changed was their energy and effort. The only thing that they changed, they made a concerted effort not to turn over the ball. The Clippers didn't do that. The Clippers came out in game 7. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard did too much ISO basketball to start the game. They were forcing shots. They were trying to find their own shot too much. They were shooting the ball so much that they were just looking for their rhythm. They didn't care about the rhythm of Montrezl Harrell because Montrezl Harrell was playing good. They didn't care about Shaman. They didn't care about getting Morris knocking down threes from the outside. They didn't care about getting JaMychal Green going because JaMychal Green actually did have it going. I felt like they could have used Patrick Patterson, maybe bring him in. More length, more shooting, somebody who can guard Paul Millsap. They chose not to do that. There were a lot of mistakes made. And the blame can be tossed around everywhere. But what you don't want to do if you're a Clipper fan is you don't want to start pointing fingers so much that now we get to making irrational decisions. Oh, trade him. Oh, get rid of him. All right, let's bring in another dude. Let's go sign him. No, you're still a super team. You're still one of the best teams in the league. Vegas is still going to have you an odds-on favorite to win the championship next year. The reason for that is because you guys are a great team. I really hope they keep Doc Rivers. I don't want to see them fire Doc Rivers because at the end of the day, there's nobody you can bring in with his resume. I mean, a lot of people say bring in Mark Jackson. That's a big question mark. And that's a risky move because Kawhi Leonard came to LA. He came to the Clippers to play for Doc Rivers. He came to LA because he specifically requested Paul George. Now, if you trade away Paul George after this year, what do you think Kawhi is going to think going into his 2021 free agency? If you fire Doc Rivers right now, what do you think he's going to think about going into his 2020 free agency? We know he's a sensitive all-star. These types of changes matter when you're talking about a Kawhi Leonard. And then at the end of the day, it's just about being real about where things went wrong. And I think Doc Rivers went wrong because he fell into that trap. He's probably hearing it from everywhere. Change your offense. Do this. Change your sub pattern. Don't play Reggie Jackson. Everything. He's hearing all of this from so many different angles. And he fell into that trap. Doc Rivers, as you see this, don't fall into that trap next time. I know you're a more experienced coach than I am. But you fell into that trap of just trying to do too much. And it's unfortunate because we're missing out on one of the greatest matchups that it could have been. And to the people who say this is some type of conspiracy theory where the NBA wants to see the Miami Heat play LeBron James to get revenge for a championship, that's not how the NBA works, y'all. That's not how the NBA works. If you got to justify this loss by saying that the NBA is forcing this special matchup, then you're just being a fan because fans are the only ones that talk conspiracy theories. If you're actually a fan of basketball and you study the game, I just want you to go look. Just even if you don't go back and watch the whole games, just look at the footage. Just watch the footage of what happened every time they trap Jokic. Watch the footage of what happened every time they were able to successfully pull off the high pick and roll ball screen. I want you guys to break that down. I want you to look at that because those are things you can learn from. Those are things you can fix. It's not fix. Now we can spend the offseason getting Zubac's footwork faster. So now Zubac can do what? Now he can hedge and recover, or he can hedge and stay. If you're dealing with a Montrezl Harrell, if we can't get his footwork up, if we can't get him to hedge and recover, now we can talk about icing the screen. Yeah, but icing the screen means we have to be the loudest on the court. We got to communicate. We got to do all this stuff. Clippers didn't want to do that stuff. They didn't. It was about going back to fundamental basketball. Just talking on defense. I mean, we're talking about a third grade basketball principle. Talk on defense. Talk more on defense. I would have loved to see Doc Rivers stress that more. Talk more on defense. You're allowing them to get off sixth grade plays. You're allowing guys to do basic ball cuts straight to the rim and score layups all day. let him kick it out to the 3-point line. Make it a concerted effort to allow him to kick it out to the 3-point line. We can contest those threes. But let's not let all of these guys get going because everybody's making layups right at the rim. That does something to another team's psyche. That gives them confidence. That leads them to believe that your defense is sweet. And it was. Kawhi Leonard standing like a statue. Let's put the blame where it needs to be. This blame goes on Kawhi Leonard. This blame goes on Paul George. We saw the reports that came out about Montrezl Harrell having that argument with Paul George. No one's there to hold Paul George accountable for all of these turnovers that he's making. He made 2 turnovers back-to-back possessions in Game 2. Montrezl Harrell and Paul George had a really big argument on the bench about it. Things like that linger, especially when younger players do not see the coaches holding them accountable. This younger player doesn't see Kawhi Leonard holding Paul George accountable for those turnovers. He felt the need to be the one to step up and say something to it. And that doesn't bode well for a team like this. That doesn't bode well. But again, I want you guys, let me know what you think about the video. Let me know what you think about this panel's reaction, man. Again, this guy's YouTube channel, Karceno4life. I'll go ahead and put the link to his YouTube page in the description of the video. We definitely want to give him credit. And like I said, no shade towards the brother, man. These are just some really loyal Clipper fans, man. And I guess they feel like they heartbroken right now. It looked like the man just broke down to tears dang there. Now, I can't say I would do that over my Portland Trail Blazers, but you never know, man. Like I said, when you so invested in your team, you constantly going to these games and you investing your money, you talking about them in your podcast. That's a lot of energy you put towards these teams, man. And if they don't play or they don't pan out the way you predicted, just like he said, man, he lost money, man. It broke his heart, man. He lost his energy, man. The man is standing up while doing his podcast. He looked like his blood pressure's going through the roof. But y'all Clippers, man, y'all need to stop, man. Y'all need to stop, man. But FYF Sports, man, another great video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, man. Come on, man. Let's get this subscriber count up, y'all. Y'all playing around with this subscriber count, man. I'm giving y'all this content. We should already be at 13K subscribers. I see we growing, so I'm not going to hate on you. We still growing. But, again, the next small goal is 20K subscribers. We're going to get to 20K subscribers. But what we also need to do is our goal is by December to get to that 100K mark. I'm not playing. Like a lot of people say it's not possible. I think it's possible. But the only way we grow is if you guys engage in the content. But FYF Sports, man, another great video. Again, we'll be back with more news. Hopefully we won't have to talk about these Clippers or these Clipper fans anymore. But I kind of highly doubt that because it looks like this one's going to sting for a minute. But it's FYF Sports, and we out.
Street.